Hey, it's fully funded here. I retired in my 30s as a millionaire, and now I'm living off passive income. Let's talk. Okay, so we're going to talk about why I don't use covered call ETFs. Now, listen, I think it's a very attractive proposition, thinking about getting, a 12% yield or 14% yield. It's very attractive. That means that, you can potentially retire much earlier without needing as much of a as nest egg, right? So, for example, if you had around 300K and you get something like QQQI or SPYI, which would be my favorite quote unquote covered call ETFs, that means if you have 300K, you can pretty much get 3K a month with a 12% yield. Yeah, you can get 3K a month. That's amazing. Or if you have 500K, you can get around 5K a month, right? With a 12% yield, right? With SPYI. Now, it sounds great. And I think it's good for short-term activities. If I'm like, I told my friend, if you're going to go on a hiatus for like a year or two or three, and like you want to take a break from your job, then yeah, by all means, you can probably, use SPYI and be okay, right? Without even reinvesting anything, just accepting that, that long term, you're still depleting your purchasing power. But I think that it's good for short term for people who don't want to worry about, selling stocks, selling shares, and stuff like that. Again, I think it's mentally comforting. Now, let's be really clear though. What I don't like about it is the fact that you cannot set it and forget it. You have to pretty much live on less than whatever you're getting. So let's just take the QQQI will probably be a better example as 14% yield, right? However, the way it works is that you're basically completely sacrificing future growth. So whatever income you're getting right now, you pretty much may stay there, or it may even get worse depending on, the market cycle. So even if you start off getting, let's say you have 300K, right? And you're getting 3K a month and you're living abroad. So you think you can do it over time that, inflation will eat away at it. I think that's the biggest issue. And of course, a lot of people say, okay, well, I can, reinvest some of them and stuff, and that's fine. And I'm not saying it's a horrible method, right? You have to do what you have to do. And one thing I want to be I want to be empathetic to different situations. So for example, if you had like $500,000, 500K, and you can comfortably live off of like 2,000 miles a month abroad, then I think that's a good situation because you can reinvest the rest. That way, inflation doesn't eat away at it as much, and you can pretty much have a long time. Plus, people who use this, they're usually like vigilant and stuff like that. So if you don't mind putting in the work for covered call ETFs, then that's fine. But covered call ETFs require work. They require the ability to constantly be monitoring whatever. And here's another thing that I don't really like about covered call ETFs is that they're price sensitive, right? When you do dividend investing, you're getting a floor. It's not price sensitive, especially you're talking about like STHD, specifically that fund. It's not price sensitive. You're going to get a certain baseline of money no matter what happens to the market, right? Whereas when you have a covered call ETF, even if you start off at 300K, if the market goes down, 30%, now you're going to have more like 200K to getting 2K a month, which is why you still need wiggle room on top, a good amount, right? So even if you're trying to use that. So like I said, I'm not trying to bash it because at the end of the day, if I had only a 300K portfolio, or let's say a 500K portfolio to be more simple, and I would live in abroad, I might be okay managing that, right? It's better than just spending down your money, right? So like I said, it's not bad. It's just that it's not the most passive ideal sense where you can really just set it and forget it and you have an income floor that doesn't wobble. So again, there's pros and cons to everything. And I do think that there's a place to use it, right? Depending on your allocation and how much money you actually have to invest and what your plans are. So, that's why they say personal finance is personal. But you ask me why I don't have it. It's because I don't need one specifically right now, right? I can already live off my investments just from natural dividend income. However, that's not everybody's situation. And, not everyone has the time, the energy, or the luck sometimes to have a certain amount of money. So I do think there still have a place. And I think that you do have to reinvest a lot of the income that you get to be safe while using covered call ETFs. Anyways, that's just my simple breakdown on this. Hope this helps.